You know what, Kobe?
What's that, Barry?
For relaxing times, it's Suntory time. I'm sorry. Did you want me to do it again? I thought you were asking for a Sean Connery and not a Roger Moore. So I just did the movement. No one's going to see it.
I saw it. Yeah. That's all I know.
Oh, man. What's going on, guys? My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This?
Fucking music.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new month of Who Watches This podcast. And for this month, Colby has decided on a topic.
Yeah, I figured we would go Lost in Translation and movies about people who just they're on just different wavelengths, and you just don't. There's just communication breakdown.
Man, this is going to be an artsy-fartsy month.
Not all of them are artsy-fartsy.
It's...
But yeah.
And it's funny because you chose to kick off the month. I thought this would be like the last movie.
I was contemplating that.
But I was like, oh man, there must be other bangers. And he just
got like rope him in right away.
And who does a better job than the two main stars of this movie in roping people into watching a movie? Right?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
So
yeah.
if you guys didn't know this movie from the quote from the beginning, well, you'll probably know it from this little Rhyme Fest trailer on our first segment. All right. Bob seems to be stuck in a weird spot in his career. Charlotte's a lonely newlywed wife, and her husband doesn't seem to care. Both eyes seem to be vacant as they wander aimlessly about Japan. Will they find comfort in each other in this situation? Let's find out in 2003's Lost in Translation. You know, it's the Japan thing is hard, you know. I was like, Japan. I was contemplating Nippon, you know. But no, we're going to be talking about the 2003 movie Lost in Translation, starring Bill Murray.
Yes.
ScarJo.
Yeah, an early ScarJo movie.
Yeah. Anna Faris, who probably is like on her second or third scary movie. I think the third one, that's when she went blonde, I feel like. Gosh, what's his name? Giovanni something. He played Phoebe's little brother.
Robisky?
Yeah, Robisky. And, a couple of like Japanese actors I don't recognize. But yeah, and directed by Sofia Coppola.
Yep.
And so yeah, we're gonna be talking about this movie. It's pretty artsy fartsy, like I wanted to say. But Kobe, like, when was the first time you watched this movie?
2 days ago. I thought I had seen this movie, but maybe I'd just seen like a lot of little bits and pieces of it. But as I was watching it, I was like, I have not seen this movie.
Oh man, I remember watching this movie probably a couple years after it came out in theaters, because I was like, growing up in the 90s and stuff, and then growing up with no cable television, so you grew up on 80s movies. Huge Bill Murray fan.
Oh yeah.
You were there at the heyday with like Caddyshack.
Right.
And,
Stripes.
Stripes. What was it? Did he have an army movie?
That was Stripes.
Oh, Stripes. I always, for some reason, it's totally different movies. I was like, is that Full Metal Jacket? Like, no.
He was definitely not that.
No, that was with Vincent D'Onofrio. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, young D'Onofrio. Yeah. Mr. Destiny. Obviously, we've
Right.
done a movie on that, and so huge Bill Murray fan. And also, you grew up with him on SNL. Or no, maybe not grew up with SNL.
By the time I was watching SNL, he was already off. I was more the Dana Carvey, Mike Myers
Okay.
generation.
I'm like aging Colby like a whole decade earlier. He's like, yeah, the sushi guy. That's Jim Belushi, right? But no, yeah, and then obviously, I in high school, Scarlett Johansson was just coming out. She did this movie, and I believe Perfect Score, which were like, was it like a young Chris Evans, a Darius NBA basketball player, Darius Miles,
Right, right.
and so I obviously have had the hugest crush on her ever since. I didn't know I
See,
just had to be an SNL actor to marry her. I'm so upset. I would have been on
see, I
SNL.
remember her in Ghost World. And I saw that because that was off of a comic book.
Oh, was that like much? That was like when she was like much younger, right?
It was only a couple years younger before this.
Yeah, because I remember like I saw like what's it called? I did a little bit of research. Sofia Coppola had seen her in a movie when she was like 10 or 11, and then she wanted her to be in Virgin Suicides, but I guess I'm pretty sure like Scarlett Johansson's parents were like, that's a pretty heavy subject.
Right, because she was only 17 during the filming of this movie.
Yeah, so there was couple awkward moments when I found that out. I was like, oh, okay, kind of weird now, because there's a couple of improvised things.
Right. But she plays like a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
I think
she's like she
just
graduated from Yale, so
yeah.
but still kind of weird. Just lets you know Hollywood is fucking weird. But yeah, let's start off with this movie. This movie starts off with it's like it starts off with Bill Murray. Kind of. Okay, so first I have to kind of preface this. If you're not used to, I don't want to say this movie it's only artsy because it's out here in the West. But if you've watched enough of like Japanese cinema, it's pretty par for the course.
Right. Yeah.
And so like Sofia Coppola talked about how a lot of it mirrored her life because she had spent time in Japan. And so I'm pretty sure that's where I was seeing the influences as far as like how this movie is going. But yeah, this movie kind of starts off excruciatingly slow. So if you're not like into that, it's going to be kind of hard for you. But I think there's like a lot of moments of brilliance in this movie, especially from Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, our two main actors, of course. But we get this shot of like Bill Murray kind of starting off. He's already in Japan.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be there. It's a very, I feel like it's a very Nicolas Cage situation where he was doing like things just to make like kind of stay in the industry.
Right. Yeah, because it's kind of like he is no longer a
Movie star.
A star.
Yeah.
Like he was an actor and was famous in his younger years. Now he's 52 or something, I think he said.
He's in his 50s.
And as a especially in like the 90s, it was a big thing for celebrities to go to Japan because Japan would pay them to be in commercials or what, like, because there's like commercials for like Arnold Schwarzenegger selling like a Gatorade type product in like the 90s, and a bunch of celebrities went over there, and
they even did it in an episode of Friends where like Joey was like, "You didn't know I did a lipstick commercial in Japan, did you?"
right, just like totally obscure things.
Yeah. That like it's like it was during the time of the world where the internet was still pretty much in it, like, publicly in its infancy.
Yeah,
right, because the government's been using the internet for like since like the late 80s. It's just and so he's his manager. He speaks to his manager. He's like, "Come on, man, you're gonna get $2 million out of this, and this is gonna hold you up for a good while."
Right, right.
$2 million
because he's married
away,
and he's got kids.
He has kids. Yeah, he's like 2-3 kids, I think. I can't remember really the situation, but like a lot of this movie really takes place in this hotel that they're in.
Right.
That's kind of like the main centerpiece. But as he's kind of going through the motions, God, it's really hard to do this like chronologically because the movie's so mundane. Like there's like it kind of it feels like it goes against all archetypes of like, or all like structures of writing where it's supposed to be like there's this rising action and the falling action. That's
a Coppola thing.
Yeah.
Both this and Francis Ford Coppola both don't follow that standardized track of movie creation,
which makes talking about their movies extremely hard. Because it almost kind of feels like it all jumbles together, right? But no, like so we get introduced to him. He's like sort of like this jaded, like I feel like it's such a weird word, this has-been of an actor who's now just in Japan doing a Suntory whiskey. And so a lot of the scenes of him is just like it's him waking up in the hotel, like the hotel like curtains open up by themselves, and he's kind of pissed about it. And he's like,
"You're right," because you get that Japanese like work
ethic.
Yeah,
get up at 6 in
like,
the morning.
The sun's open, our blinds automatically open, so you can get up. But it's also like he's there for a week.
Yeah.
So it's 12-hour time difference, and
it's like sun's out, guns out, Mr. Murray. But we also we kind of like take these moments and then we cut away to Scarlett Johansson, who's there with her newlywed husband,
right?
Who is a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. Like I said, this movie starts off weird because I believe it's a butt shot of 17-year-old Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's like when I found out she was 17, I was like, that just makes it weird now. But no, and like they have like this, he's here for maybe like a month or so. They've been there for a little bit more time than Bill Murray has.
Yeah.
Because later on you find out that like Scarlett Johansson has like Japanese friends that she sometimes hangs out with, right?
Right.
But no, and so we kind of see them sort of live their lives very close in proximity, but never really interacting until about the 30 to 35 minute mark.
Right. Yeah, there's like one where they see each other in an elevator.
Yeah.
Like kind of early on, but there's no interaction really.
Yeah.
It's just him noticing her.
I know, but I feel like as like two white people in a Japanese elevator, you'd be like,
right. No, and that's why later on he mentions it, and that's why he remembers it, because it's the one other English speaking person in the hotel.
But no, and so like Bill Murray's sort of going through his motions. He goes to like the studio to film a commercial, and a very, very strong Japanese director is speaking a lot of Japanese to this English actor. And he's very passionate, right? It could be misconstrued as like he's angry, but he's just a very passionate person.
Yeah.
And so Bill Murray has a translator who's been there like throughout his whole stay to kind of help him, like almost like a personal assistant,
right?
As well, because like every morning she's like waiting for him in the lobby. So it makes it really awkward for him. But no, and she's like kind of translating it, but pretty much the gist of all the things that he's saying. And Bill Murray's like, is that everything he said?
Right, because the director goes off on like a 3-minute tangent, and then she's just kind of like, hold the glass and be intense, and it's like, what? can't be what he just said.
There's a lot that's missing. There's a lot of context that I feel like is missing.
And
Miss
she's like,
Keiko.
no, that's it.
And then so like he goes for the first shot. He's like, for a relaxing time, it's Suntory time. And he's like, no. Yeah. Yamato. And he's like, and then basically it feels like he's just saying more intensity, more, I feel like he wants Bill Murray's character to be like Clint Eastwood.
Right. And you kind of get that somebody mentions that he was in like Car Chase in one of his movies. So like it gives you the impression that he used to be like kind of an action star. I was like totally thinking like a Bruce Willis kind of young Bruce Willis.
Yeah. But like Bill Murray is giving like Bill Murray, and this director, he wants him to be like, for a relaxing time, it's Suntory time.
Right. Yeah.
Like barely moving his teeth. Like how Clint Eastwood just acts.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny too because like when they're doing the shoot, that's for a later thing, and so like it kind of just cuts off because it's gonna be a lot more of this, and then meanwhile we see Scarlett Johansson. She's like talking to her husband. She's like, he's like, oh sorry, this band, blah blah blah. He's like kind of bitching about this band. He's like, they totally changed their whole look. I feel like it would have been so much more, this and that if they just stayed all nerdy looking, and it'd be way more metal or hardcore. Just like and it's funny too because like Japan has a term for that. It's called gap mo, where like you have this very cutesy looking character, but they're like obliterating armies, like chopping. It's like think about Powerpuff Girls, but then with the gore of Berserk.
Right.
And so that's like the kind of mood he wants for this band, and she's kind of like she's being like this very supportive like wife, but I always feel like it's much more hard to be that, especially when she has like this degree from Yale.
Right.
It's I think it's easier if like, okay, like my husband will be like he'll be the breadwinner. But it's like, but I also went to Yale for like a master's degree, But
right, and you graduate with a degree, and you're looking for your life to start.
Yeah,
and if you have two people, and his career as the photographer for this band tour or whatever
label.
It was,
he's a photographer for a record label. Yeah.
It's like taken off, then she's trying to follow his dream or trying to support his dream, but it's postponing hers,
which is I think that's a really hard place to be put in, right?
Yeah,
especially when you're newlyweds and all that stuff. So but like she plays like the supportive wife, and so she kind of goes off on her own, like exploring the city, and then she goes to like a monastery. And then like after the monastery, she calls like a friend from back home, and she's trying to explain to her friend, like, I went to this monastery and they're like, they're doing their chanting and all this stuff, and I just didn't feel anything. But her friend is so busy. She's so busy and wrapped up in her life that, and she tried. Her friend it's not to say that she has a bad friend, because then she comes back and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, what were you saying? And Scarlett Johansson just like, oh, never mind. It's okay. I'll talk to you when I get back home.
Right. Yeah.
Which is,
it's like the Lost in Translation just applies to so many different situations in this movie. Like it's the perfect name. Like, because she's feeling like she needs a connection, and her friend just isn't getting that and is like busy with their own life. And so it's just kind of like, oh, that kind of just got lost.
Yeah, and it's also like, if I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people, especially if you're listening, you've definitely tried to be like, oh, let me move to a different city by myself, and like there's this like overwhelming loneliness that you feel, and so you're just trying to find a connection, even if it's like with someone back home. And, you don't want to burden them, because at that moment, Scarlett Johansson's character, Charlotte, she was being pretty vulnerable. and like
Right.
not to the fault of her friend for like being busy, but you know, it's just so she kind of shuts it down.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Bill Murray, and he's doing like a photo shoot. And it's so funny because he has like all these like pins on the back of his suit to like make the suit tighter,
Right.
to make it like a fitted suit. And like the Japanese like photographer, he speaks like, some English, but
A
he's
little
like
bit.
it's a little bit more like keywords like mysterious, you know, Roger
Yeah. Yeah.
Moore. But then like the accents like getting like it's hard for Bill Murray to understand because pretty heavy accent.
Right. Yeah. Even when it's English, it's still
Yeah, yeah,
it's still like a mental translation of what is there? What are
Roger
they saying?
Roger Moore. What? Roger Moore. 007. I was like, oh, Roger Moore. Which I always feel like it's such a rude thing, but it's so funny because like you know at my job there's a lot of people that are, you know, heavy like Spanish speakers or just like, you know, we have a lot of like foreign people working. And so sometimes like when they say something and then like I like, oh, it's more of like a O thing, but I always feel like, why'd I do that? You know, I feel so rude, you know? Yeah, and so they go through this photo shoot, and it's just like for Bill Murray's character, it's just a complete nightmare, you know. So like later he
Right.
goes,
He is definitely there for the paycheck. He is not enjoying his time in Japan.
and so like you know later that night, you know he goes to the bar at the hotel. Meanwhile, Scarlett Johansson is there as well. And they have like kind of like a moment where they look at each other, and then Scarlett Johansson sends them like some sake, some sake.
Oh, was that sake? It looked like a bowl of like soybeans or something.
Oh, no, I don't know. Maybe I just assumed it's sake because they're at the bar,
Right.
right? But it could be like some chickpeas, you know. And it's funny too because I don't think it's during this moment, or maybe it is, and that's when he moves to the bar. That's where he sees Scarlett Johansson. But earlier, you know, two business people see Bill Murray and they're like, "Oh, fuck, I think it's him. I think it's him."
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's right. They're talking, and then you kind of overhear, and that's when you get the idea that he used to be like an action movie star.
Yeah. But no, like, you know, they have like this little moment where they like kind of acknowledge each other as like two English speaking people. And then, you know, he kind of, you know, Bill Murray kind of fucks off back into his room, and he gets a call from his wife, and the wife seems very just, it's so like disinterested. But
Right. It's 25 years married, and you know you're at work, and I'm dealing with the kids, and it's just, you know.
yeah, it's kind of rough. You know, it's you don't know what the state of their marriage is. Like, are they towards the end of it? Like, are they just living together at this point with kids? You know, because that's sort of the feeling that you get throughout the whole movie. But you know, at first it's like, hey, you missed, you know, Samantha's birthday. You forgot to call to say happy birthday. So that's like,
Oh, right. And so this is filmed a little while ago. So a lot of the stuff is there's not like there is cell phones, but not like there's no Apple phones, nothing like that.
yeah,
So and because of the long distance,
yeah.
there's not a lot of like phone calls. So he gets a number of faxes from his boss or from his wife, because that's just like a cheap way to communicate. She could fax something to the hotel and have them just deliver a message.
Just old school communication, guys. But no, so like the next morning, Scarlett Johansson and her husband had run into somebody, and it's played by Anna Faris, who's there on like a movie junket where, you know,
Right.
she's promoting her movie. Was it like Maximum Velocity or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
With Keanu Reeves. But like Anna Faris feels like she's like a little overly flirtatious with her husband.
Right. And she is even the one who starts it. It wasn't like he was like, "Oh my goodness, I know you. She was like, oh, hey, John, what's going on?
You know,
I'm here for the movie.
you're the only photographer I want photographing me.
Right,
It's
right.
like,
Yep.
whoa, pump the brakes, bitch. But like she's saying like a lot of shit, and then like Scarlett Johansson kind of chimes in, but it's like one of those like, you're stupid, and I'm gonna let you know you fucking sound stupid. And as like, and so like this is sort of like we do have some moments where like Scarlett Johansson smokes in this, and like her husband's like, "Could you please? It's so unhealthy, you know." And so he has a couple gripes with her as well, you know, because like as they walk away from Anna Faris, she's like, "Hey, do you have to make everybody feel or like feel so stupid or something?"
Right. Yeah.
No, not everybody went to Yale. So yeah, it just seems like there's a huge disconnect between her and her husband in this movie. And God, I forgot what the moment is when her and Bill Murray start to interact.
Um. So there's a couple times where they just kind of cross paths. Like she goes swimming at the pool, and she's
Mm,
leaving the pool, and Bill Murray's coming to the
yeah.
pool,
Oh,
and
the first moment is like when they're both pretty restless in their beds and they meet up at the bar.
mm-hmm.
I believe that's the first moment, and they have like they share a couple quips with each other. You
Oh,
know,
right. And that's when he's like, Centauri. And
yeah.
she's like, okay, yeah, I'll have a vodka and tonic.
Oh, it's so funny because like the waiter finishes it for relaxing time. It's a Suntory time. And I don't care me doing the accent is going to be offensive to anybody because the Japanese had occupied the Philippines, so I don't care. But yeah, no, they do start to have those interactions at a certain point, and they keep finding like these little pocket of moments where they connect.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like during the first in the bar scene where she's like, "Yeah, I'll have a gin and tonic or a vodka and tonic or whatever," right? And she's like, "Oh, you going through a midlife crisis? Have you bought a Porsche yet?" And so yeah,
And he asks her, like, what are you doing? What's your job? And she's like, oh, I just graduated as a philosophy major. And he's like, oh yeah, so you're looking for a career with big money.
so yeah, so many careers call for a philosophy degree. Gosh, sometimes the degrees that are out there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
These are degrees, like a philosophy degree is for like a rich kid, like a trust fund kid.
I,
That's what
yes.
it really feels
If you
like.
take out a loan to get a philosophy major, uh, you're going to be paying that student loan back for 30 years.
Yeah, I'm not helping you. Like if I have a kid and they're like, "Yeah, I want a philosophy degree." Tight. I'm not helping you pay that back.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man. And so no, like they start to have these moments together where they start hanging out. At first it feels small, but then Charlotte starts to, at a certain point, what's it called? Charlotte has dinner with like her husband and Anna Faris. And
Yeah.
again, she ends up leaving because like a DJ is talking to like is Scarlett Johansson. He's like, yeah, I'm making the beat, and it's like boom, 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 and I put the drums like,
And she's like, no, I have no idea.
yeah, she's like, he's like, you don't like hip hop? She's like, not the hip hop you're talking about. And so yeah, she goes to like Bill Murray and hangs out with Bill Murray for a bit.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they kind of again like this movie is heavy quips, But what's it called? Her husband is like, hey, I have to go out of town for a little bit, and she's like, could you not? Like, could you stay? And he's like, I'll be gone for just a little bit. I got to do this for for the record label, do this and that. And she's like, okay, well, have fun. He's like, oh yeah, call Kenjiro, you guys can hang out again, I don't
Right,
know
right.
that's his name. I'm spitting out random Japanese names that I know. And it's mainly from anime.
Yeah, so it's not that she's got friends there, but she knows a few people
Yeah.
through her husband and through the record label.
Yeah, it's funny because it almost kind of mirrors Jesus Christ, what's that movie called? Begin Again with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's a pretty good mirror of like the situation. So she invites Bob out,
Right.
and they have the kind of like this crazy night. First they're at a bar, but then Kenjiro ends up like berating the bartender. And the bartender, like, I thought he brought out a gun. I was like, those are super illegal in Japan, but it's like a BB gun.
The BB gun, yeah.
And it still hurts, it still breaks skin. So they start running away. Then they end up like hanging out at Kenjiro's place where they're like taking Polaroids and all this stuff. People are talking to like Bob because, he's an action star. And, and
Right.
then they end up going to karaoke.
Yeah.
Obviously karaoke is always bad karaoke. But I think this is cool because I think this is like one of the first movies that introduced like private karaoke to a Western audience.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that was always, I always knew it as that's something that's at a bar.
yeah,
There's a
for
stage in the corner of the bar,
and it's
not private rooms.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's always bad. Someone's always super drunk singing a Billy Joel song. But they have like this weird moment, like with Scarlett Johansson and Bob, or like Charlotte and Bob. They have sort of like this moment where they look at each other, they feel like they're connecting. And so a lot of more of these moments tend to happen between them. They go out to eat sushi together, and like
Right.
Scarlett Johansson like shows like her blackened toe. And Bill Murray's like, yeah, it's a delicacy over here. he's trying to get like the sushi chef to like laugh. He's like,
Yeah.
no laugh, huh? Straight face. Okay. He's like, no, let me take you to the hospital, please. It's so funny because they go to the hospital and like, she's getting an MRI. She probably only had to pay like $20 because, healthcare in other countries is so much better than ours. And it's funny because Bob has this moment with like a Japanese person,
Yeah.
and the two ladies behind them couldn't fucking hold it. Did you notice that?
I totally noticed that. And I don't know if that was like intentional or if they were just like, here, sit back here. And then Bill Murray just started riffing and they start cracking up and they're just like, oh, we're going to leave this in.
Yeah, that had to be improvised. And I think it felt like much more real.
Yeah.
Because like this old Japanese dude is like, kaere, dameda, like speaking Japanese, and Bill Murray's like, yeah.
And he's just repeating like the same things back.
Yeah.
And it's like they're having a conversation, but neither one of them have any idea what the other person's saying.
And these two old Japanese ladies are cracking up. They could not hold it in. It was hilarious. But I know she comes out, she's fine again, and everything seems kind of like okay. And so this is it's really hard because the timeline feels like it's kind of hard to follow because it feels like it's all jumbled up within this 1 week, right?
Right.
But Bill Murray has like a couple more conversations with his wife. And again, Bill Murray's like, I kind of want to eat more healthy. Maybe I'll maybe we'll switch it up to like Japanese food. It's much cleaner. And his wife is like, well, why don't you just stay there? And he's like, that's not really what I'm like talking about. I just, never mind. And she's like, well, remember, Samantha's like thing is on Saturday. So if you can get back before Saturday, that'd be really cool.
And there's also a little bit before that, there's a thing where he's looking to get out of Japan because he hasn't made this friendship yet. And his manager's like, hey, they're trying to get you to go onto a talk show.
Oh, yeah.
The Johnny Carson of
Japan.
And he's totally thinking, talk show, like American talk show, late night. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. But then once he kind of makes this friendship, he's like, you know what? Yeah,
I'll stay.
I'll do it. I'll stay an extra couple days so that I can do the Johnny Carson in Japan.
It's like a completely nuts show, like in like an American standard. Like I love like variety shows from other countries because it's so much more interactive versus sitting on a couch and kind of just talking. Which I mean, like to be fair, like depending on who the host is, it's still fine. But like in Japan, Korea, and all that stuff, they're like, like they had Steph Curry in a Korean variety show, and Steph Curry had to play against like the 5 hosts, but they're like middle-aged Asian men. They're like 45 and up, and so they had like comically large hands, like they could hold to try to block Steph Curry's shot.
Right.
It's so much more fun, right? But like back in the early 2000s, you didn't get exposed to that. So like this guy's like super like, oh, Mr. Bub, let me show you my dance. Bub.
And he's totally like, do I get up and dance with you? I don't know what's going on.
Oh, but later that night, he's at the bar. Like so, like that day, he was supposed to like Charlotte was like, hey, meet me here if you can. But during that time, Charlotte she goes to like a Japanese temple and she sees like a marriage, like a traditional Japanese marriage, and I think that's like one of the things where she starts to like feel again. Feel something that she like. Earlier she went to the monastery, she didn't feel anything, but now she sees this and she feels something, and so like but she doesn't end up seeing. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is like the day after this. So no, like I think after the show they go hang out, and she's like, "Hey, Kenjiro said to meet us at this club."
Oh yeah,
it's a titty bar.
Right.
They go to like a Japanese titty bar, and Bob is like, I don't know where to look.
Right, he's like, I'm a 50-year-old white guy in a Japanese strip club, and I don't know what to do. Yeah, and then all the other guys just like are off getting lap dances.
Yeah,
and he's just sitting there by himself waiting for her.
And like, Charlotte comes, she's like, do you want to get out of here? He's like, yes, please. And then before he leaves, he's like, thank you. Thank you for showing me your titties. And, they have like another night. I believe they like drink a little bit.
Right.
But he ends up.
And that's when they were running around with out in the street, like trying to get a taxi or something.
Or they're just like running around the city having a night, and then he ends up kind of carrying her back to her room, puts her to bed. Yeah. But Bob ends up going back to the bar at the hotel, and there's been this like lounge singer. That's been there, and she knows what she's fucking doing. That redheaded devil. She ends up sleeping with Bob that night. They have like two bottles of champagne or something.
Yeah, they have quite a bit to drink, because when he wakes up, he is like confused, like, like, where am I? Who's here with me?
And he's like, fuck,
Yeah.
But Charlotte ends up coming to his door, and she's like, hey, do you want to go to the hot pot place? But she hears like the other woman.
Yeah.
And they end up having like the most awkward lunch.
Right, because it's a strange relationship. It's kind of almost like father-daughter, but it's friends, but there's a little bit of sexual tension, and then so like,
which again is really weird.
It is. And then like, so when she sees that there's another girl in Bob's room, like she's upset, but it's not like is it like this person's just getting your attention? I thought I was getting all your attention.
Yeah.
Not so much because that's not like she's even says that. She's like, well, hey, at least she's almost your age, you know.
Yeah. And it's funny because like there's like so many moments that it's like hard to really key in on. There's a lot of moments in this movie though that they do share together. Like they end up falling asleep in the same bed together after drinking sake one night.
Right.
And so it's like that. It's like it's a weird friendship that it's like we could be something more.
Right.
But it's
right.
also like, you know, Scarlett Johansson has this thing where she's like, let's never go back to Japan because it'll never be like this again.
Right.
So
yeah, we'll
so
if we
many
come back
things.
here, it'll never be as fun as it was this time.
Yeah, there's so many like little themes in this movie. So, but yeah, no. So they end up like you know, having this awkward lunch, and then it cuts to like them like asleep in their rooms, but the fire alarm starts to blare.
Right. Yeah.
And so they meet up downstairs, and they kind of like laugh it off, and they go back to the elevators, going back into their rooms, and then again, it's like a perfect depiction of like what is this situation that they're in, because like they say goodbye to each other, but they end up like lip-syncing each other. At first, I thought it was going to be a kiss on the cheek, but they kind of kiss each other on the lips.
Kind of, but not really. But yeah.
It's like trying to suss out like where are we in this?
Right. It's lost in translation. Where what do each of us feel this should be?
Yeah. But like Scarlett Johansson knows that like Bob is going home tomorrow.
Right.
You know?
And in the next couple days, her husband's coming back. And it's not like they can just up and run off together because they're both married.
And it's funny because she's like, you know, yeah, you could just, you know, we could just stay in Japan and we'll start a jazz band.
You're right.
But the next morning, you know, Bob gets ready to leave. But before he leaves, you know, he calls Charlotte and he's like, hey, I'm leaving. It would be really nice to see you before I leave because you also have my jacket. You know, women always stealing jackets, hoodies. And so they meet each other downstairs. They have like this, like, you know, this moment again. And then, you know, she leaves. You know, Bob has to take photos with like the Japanese people that's been helping him during his stay. And he gets in a taxi and he starts to kind of go, but then he catches Charlotte like walking
off into the Market Street or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, stop, wait, just wait here. You know, I'll give you extra money, whatever. And he runs over to Charlotte. They hug. He whispers something, which, you know, a little trivia bit. Coppola was like, I was going to write something, but I just didn't. And so now, like, it's not meant to be like this profound thing. It's just like, I just didn't know what to write. So,
yeah,
you know, now that the internet for the past 20 years have speculated what this whisper was. But after that, they pull away from each other and they kiss, which is another, again, you know, my feelings to it is it's kind of strange because Bill Murray was like 50, you know, he's 50 at the time and Scarlett Johansson 17. But for the moment of the movie, it makes sense, right? And they pull away from each other and then like they both go their separate ways.
Yeah.
And the movie ends there. So before we get into our thoughts about it, let's go into our other section, high star, low star. Kobe?
So we got a 10 out of 10. Are you lost? Sometimes you need to be taken completely out of your element to discover that you're completely lost. Do you ever wonder why your vacations turn into soap operas full of drama? It's because when you're on vacation, you discover what you're really trying to get away from and what you really want to return to. If you don't jump out of bed each morning with a desire to live life to its fullest, then you need to watch this movie. I feel it's similar in message, if not in content, to American Beauty. Look closer. P.S. No, you won't laugh hysterically at Bill Murray in this film, but yes, you will leave the theater wondering, who will I meet today and how will they change my life, even if it's just for a moment?
And then I have 1 out of 10. What? This film further proves that I simply don't understand film critics. Lost in Translation is horrible. What exactly is this thing supposed to be about? Nothing happens. The characters do not develop, change, or even engage in anything relatively interesting. I don't need a movie to enjoy a snippet of life. All I have to do is look around me. If there's supposed to be a message in this movie, it's either way beyond my comprehension or it's simply people that are unhappy and alone sometimes find others to share their misery with. I'd like to find someone to share my misery after watching this debacle of a film. Sure, the scenery is sometimes pretty, but that's Japan's fault, not Coppola's. It manages to be effective in spite of her, not because of her. 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 or whatever.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, I mean, like at least he kind of like under like he or like they are thinking about their own faults. Like maybe I just don't understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens. Like, I mean, like, it's definitely like movies I've seen that I'm like, I've had people say that they liked, and it's just like, I just don't get.
Yeah.
Like, this movie just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But like, I like this movie. I thought this was.
Yeah. I think this movie is much more palatable to people 30 and up.
Right.
You know?
Yes. I feel like, yeah, it's seeing it from like Bill Murray's side, like that is probably much easier than seeing it from Scarlett Johansson's.
Well, no, I think
age.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like life experience kind of.
Well, so like I think I say it's more palatable for people in their 30s because Scarlett Johansson, obviously I think we've all been there where like we reach this point where life tells us like, oh, we have to do this, that, this and that. After you get out of college, you have this degree, you're like, okay, now what?
Right.
Where's my syllabus for the rest of my life? And so if you're like in high school, you're not gonna really, grasp it as well. Like you might be like, I'm so mature, like, I get it, but like once you're out of, once you're into the world and now there's no syllabus for the rest of your life, there's no structure anymore. You can kind of see where like you can kind of see where Scarlett Johansson is in at her point of her life.
Right.
And Bill Murray is, funnily enough, in the same situation, but he's like in a different portion of his.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's like, I've been this actor for the past 30 years or whatever. And now nobody wants me in their movies. My marriage is sort of, it feels like roommates with kids.
Right.
And I think that's why it's much more palatable to people in their 30s. Because you're like, okay, maybe you just got over that hump, but now you're like, oh, fuck, am I going to be Bill Murray soon?
Yeah, because like I was thinking, like, if I would have seen this, like, in the theater when it came out or rented it right after it came, I don't think I would have appreciated this movie.
You don't think
so? Now that I've like lived life, I've there's so much more I relate to it. Like,
yeah, but I also think that's because like back in 2003, it was like obviously me and you watched we were watching foreign films, but you were watching like things like the Japanese version of Toxic Avenger. You weren't exactly looking for like retrospective outlooks on life. And I think that's maybe maybe you have to be like, you have to have that mindset, and you've been as long as I've known you, kind of a goofy dude.
right. And I really do enjoy movies like this now.
Yeah.
But that it is certainly like a older life me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I watched this back maybe like 2004, 2005, I was just like, oh, this is depressing. It's like, what? You're supposed to, but it's also like, it's a funny thing to watch it that early when I was younger, because it's like, you're like, is it? No, I thought it's supposed to be all figured out. You get your degree, then you get married, and then you start this life. And I was just like, oh no, there's other paths in life that don't turn out the way you want it to be.
Right.
And,
yeah.
and it's funny too, because like you felt like sort of that loneliness before, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's where this is where I was thinking this relationship really just lies in. It almost feels like a summer fling type of relationship. Two people in a country where, they're not used to the customs, the language, the way of life, because we get moments of Scarlett Johansson kind of just walking around Tokyo and just seeing how much more different it is.
Right.
Than it is for us. And then you have these two people meet each other in vastly different portions of their life, but feeling the same sort of loneliness and
right. A lack of an emotional attachment.
Yeah, like they're deprived of like emotional connection. And then they find that with each other, which that's why like I think it's so funny with the kiss in the elevator. Like you said, lost in translation, and it's them like, what are these feelings that we're feeling when we're together?
Right.
And so, yeah, that's how I really took in that whole, like the whole relationship that they were having during that time. Because it's like Bob is having this marriage that's like falling apart basically. He tells Charlotte like, hey, me and my wife used to have so much fun,
right?
And now all she does is she always just wants to be with the kids. Which again, that's also like a miscommunication or lost in translation thing, because if your partner is feeling like disconnected from you,
right, and there is certainly a have a kid and the world changes. Like it's no longer about you. It's now about the kid, and sometimes that's not easy to get the couple thing back after.
Yeah. But like, I've watched enough therapy shows where it's like, yes, you two do have this child, and you should have, help foster this child together, like, build them up. But you also shouldn't forget that you two are also people that need time for themselves. Colby, you have a psychology degree.
Right. It's a weird dichotomy, because you certainly have that. Well, I want to keep myself despite having a child, but then there's like especially now, there's a huge push of society of like, why are you doing anything for yourself when you have a kid like that?
Yeah,
that's your focus. Why would you do anything that isn't helping the kid? That isn't.
But I also feel like that's a lot of like people projecting, like,
and it's also side tangent. It's also the world has changed. Like it is now
it's a dangerous world out
you
there.
and your wife are raising a kid, or you're raising a kid by yourself, where a few generations ago it was you and your clan, your family, everybody was there. Your tribe was helping you.
You had a support system.
Yeah.
That's and on the flip side, Charlotte, she's feeling super disconnected from her husband because he's so busy with his career. And she also feels like, oh, I don't like this corporate version of my husband.
Right.
Which, I think, that's why it's good to kind of separate, professional and personal, because when you're at work, you have to act a certain way that, like, I'm not like that in real life. But but when I'm at work, it's yes, sir. Oh, yes,
right.
ma'am.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I liked owning my own shop, was like, because I could still be myself. I could be obnoxious, goofy me where it was, because it's mine,
Yeah.
and it's like, if you didn't like it, you could leave, go somewhere else, because this is how it is here. But yeah, certainly now, my job now, I'm like, when I go to work, it's business mode, and it's, I'm working for the company to get things done.
Yeah, and
not
you got a brown nose a little bit,
for a paycheck, not for enjoyment.
Yeah, and you got a brown nose to like move up on the company,
Right.
And she kind of like, she hates that because she has like, she also has her own beliefs. She's like, you're so fake, It's funny because like at a certain point in the movie, she watches Anna Faris's like press junket. And she's like, yeah, like, and she's like she's kind of just using like a word jumble of things.
Right.
She's like, yeah, it's like the Buddha, the maximum velocity it's so parallel to Buddhism.
And me and Keanu, we bonded and we got so close because he has 2 cats and I have 2 cats, and we both like Mexican food. Yeah.
Oh, and like it's so funny because like Scarlett Johansson just rolls her eyes. But I like the moment after that scene where she goes to like there's like a little event happening at the hotel where people are doing like flower arrangement.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which like it's a beautiful thing because like well, at least what I learned from my uncle, because he was like huge into like botany, is like and he liked Japanese culture, even though he was Filipino and he was alive during World War II. But he likes some of the philosophies behind it, like with flower arrangement and even bonsai, like tree cutting. It's supposed to be able to like help you sort of still your mind, and you kind of see that with Scarlett Johansson doing this.
Right.
She's like trying to find out like the perfect placement for these flowers, and it kind of like helps her calm her down.
And it's also like a connection to the Japanese ladies that are there, because there's not a communication. It's here, you build this flower arrangement and we'll build ours, and it's just kind of a bonding,
like a quiet
without talking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a quiet bond that they're doing, and I think like it's I think those are the beautiful parts when you're learning about a new culture, and you're able to sort of take some parts of it and kind of help enrich your life.
Yeah.
And
I did love that in the movie, that even when she was alone, she was venturing out to at least get some culture, even if she wasn't really interacting. She was at least observing.
Yeah, like the Watcher from Marvel,
Where Bill Murray was just like, I'm gonna go to the bar and have a couple drinks because I just want to go home.
Yeah. Bill Murray is like the epitome of like sort of old school American dude, because some of the things he says is borderline offensive. But they kind of let it slide because he's like, oh yeah, Bill Murray, Die Hard. He's like the Die Hard action type of, and he kind of he gets that clout over there, Oh man. But yeah, this movie, I definitely think it's one of those movies where you kind of, if you've had some life experience, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more. Or like if you're like a high school student, you're just gonna get super depressed.
Right. I had like looked at a lot of things, and there was a lot of people who were saying that they were like, "Hey, if you suffered from depression or anything, there is a lot that you'll see in this movie that you'll relate to in this movie."
And
And if
also,
you're like a super outgoing person, you're like, I'm going to Japan and I don't care if I'm by myself because I'm going to still hit all the bars and go karaoke and I'll make friends. Then you're like not going to get what these two characters were
yeah, no,
feeling.
yeah, I even think though, if you're that person, that you'll have like little moments
Right.
where you're like just lost. Oh man, but yeah, we're coming up to an hour. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check all of our other months down below. We have so many theme months for you guys, where it ranges from actors to like really niche genres, like live adaptation video games and live adaptation anime.
We even have like wrestling, a whole month of wrestling movies with professional wrestlers in.
Yeah, but we do our reviews in 4 different sections. We have Stream It, DVD, Blu-ray, and the Ultimate Box Collection. Kobe, where are you at for this one?
This is definitely Blu-ray. I have no idea what you would get Ultimate Box. That would
the Bill Murray collection. Yeah, any collection of Bill Murray I'd get.
But yeah, no, I'd love you. This is definitely like. It would be a specific group of people that I would show this to, because you kind of have to be in that mindset. I feel like to watch it, but I could also see that like you'd just be like, someday you'd just be like, I'm like in a depressed mood and there's just nothing going on. Let me throw this on and kind of like have something to connect to.
Yeah,
but definitely rewatchable.
Yeah, because that's like also like a huge theme in this movie is just finding connections with people. Super.
And then there was also like I saw something that was talking about the film style of this and how there was like a red tint on like when they're depressed, and then as things get better, it goes to a green tint, but it includes like the background lights and the signs kind of more focused on red signs versus green signs. And like it was something I didn't at all observe, but now that I've heard it, like somebody said it, I would love to watch again just to kind of like see if I capture that.
Oh yeah, it almost feels like subliminal in that aspect. But I'd go Blu-ray for this too. I think it's pretty enjoyable. With Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, like their interaction together is pretty palpable. And man, I'm gonna tell you right now, if Scarlett Johansson looked at me the way that she looks at Bill Murray in this movie, puddles. I'd be a melted ice cream. It's been so long since someone looked at me like that. Oh man, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check our links down below.
We got our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Threads. We're on everything.
Yeah, and Kobe's been super busy on that Twitter, that X. And who knows, who knows if TikTok will still be there? Maybe it'll be Red Note.
Yeah, right. So what I was hearing was that it's not like they're gonna be able to pull it off your phone.
Oh,
so they'll just remove it from the App Store.
Oh,
it will have happened probably before this episode comes out. Yeah. But so we'll know better then.
Yeah.
But that was the most recent thing that I heard was like, hey, if everybody's already downloaded it, it's not going to go away until in the future they need to do updates, and you won't be able to update anything because it's no longer provided through your service. But once it's on your phone, it's not going anywhere. It's still there.
I mean, we'll see. They talk about like charging service providers if your person has TikTok or what. I don't know. Who knows? But thank you guys for joining us.
And I heard something that Mr. Beast was having a meeting with Elon Musk, and he had made the joke. He was like, "I know enough billionaires now. We should be able to buy it."
Oh man, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us. My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This. If you guys want to check out who does the theme music, it is Lee Rosevere. It's called Arcade Montage. It's on our album Music Podcast 3, and the Bandcamp is down below.
Thank you.